So now it's time to start with the JavaScript part for the project, which is the speech to text converter application. So for that, we need to use the script.js file. Inside of the script.js file, first we need to get the reference to this particular result element, because these two buttons are actually going to call a function that is actually, if I come back to index.html, which is actually start converting and stop converting function. So I need to first define these two functions. So function, the first one is going to be like our start converting function. So I'm going to copy the name of the function so that I didn't make any typo. Coming back to script.js again, and here I'm going to paste in the name of the function and then into starters block of the code. Similarly, I'm going to copy the name of the function, which is the stop converting function, and then coming back to script.js again. And here I'm to create the function, then I'm going to paste the name of the function, then into starters block of the code. After that, I need to get the reference to this particular result element. So here I will be using the const result element. So here I will be using the short form, that is result, and then I will be actually typing the entire name, which is the result element, instead of using a shorter one. Then I need to use the document.get element by id, because the name of the element is actually specified inside the id, means the selector that I have added to this particular division element is actually the result. So I'm going to copy the id name, which is result, and coming back to script.js and pasting the name of the element. So now we have the reference of the result element in this particular variable, which is the const variable. Then here I need to create another global variable, which is of type let, which is actually the recognition variable, because the value of this variable will be updated multiple times, because whenever I speak, the value of this particular variable will be updated and the content of this variable will be displayed inside this particular text element, which is not exactly very simple, because for that we need to create some more function. So the stop converting function is going to be very simple. So I'm going to code this stop function later part of this particular lecture. Now we need to create two more functions for the speech recognition code. The second function is actually the setup speech recognition function. So here I will be using the setup recognition. So this particular function is going to accept a one parameter. This parameter name is going to be like recognition. Alright. And after that, I need to create a one more function. So here I need to use the function, then I need to specify the name of the function, which is going to be like the process results. So this will be used to actually process the process result function. And this function is going to accept a parameter of type results. And then I need to start its block of the code. Now first we need to start the coding inside this particular start converting function. So instead of that, first we need to actually add a condition that the user browser is actually supports the WebKit speech recognition. So we need to check whether this WebKit speech recognition API is actually supported by the browser or not. So for that we need to use here a if condition, and instead of that I need to place a one WebKit, that is WebKit speech recognition. So make sure you didn't make any typo while typing the name of this particular one. I'm going to also cross check it, which is like WebKit speech recognition. So if it is supported by the browser, so here I need to use the in window. So if it is supported by the browser, then we want to actually start the speech recognition. So here the global variable recognition going to be initialized. So here with an object. So recognition is equal to the instance of the new WebKit, that is this one WebKit, and I will simply use the WebKit, and here I need to use the speech recognition. So now this recognition has an instance of the WebKit recognition object. So after that we need to here call the setup recognition, because now we have the reference of the recognition object, then we need to call here a setup recognition function. And instead of that, just like I already told you, this particular function is going to accept a instance of the recognition object, which is this particular one, although it is treated as an argument, or I can say that the parameter. So here I need to pass the argument object recognition, and after that we need to start the recognition also. So for starting the recognition, we need to use the recognition, that is this variable, which is the global variable dot start. So we need to start the recognition, otherwise the recognition process will not be invoked. And after that we need to actually start the code inside this particular function, which is this one, setup recognition. So here I'm going to remove the extra spaces because I have already explained the code. So I'm removing the extra spaces so that I can actually make the indentation of the code. So inside of this setup recognition function, the first thing is that I need to do is actually we need to set the recognition process. What I mean with the process, so here I will be using the recognition dot continuous. So these are the parameters, or I can say that we need to actually set up the recognition. So recognition is going to be continuously listening to the speech of the user. Alright, so here I need to use the continuous. Alright, and after that here I need to also add a one more property, which is recognition dot enter. So first I am results. So interim results is equal to true. So what this interim results is actually, the thing is here, now this interim results is actually going to set up the recognition, means enable the recognition in a partial way. Means there are two types of recognitions in this particular project I will be explaining you. The first is the interim results and the second is the final result. Again I am repeating, the first is the interim results and the second is going to be the final results. So whatever I will be speaking here is going to be done, or we can say that whatever I'm going to speak is actually controlled by this particular interim results, because it is going to be listening to the voice and also going to be display the data, means going to display the text inside this particular result element. Whatever I will be speaking like in a speech and converting it into text is actually done by with the use of this interim results. And then I also need to take care of the final results, which is actually processed by this particular function. Once we are going to start the code inside this particular function, then I'm going to explain the things in more detail. Just for now, you just need to remember that this interim results is going to listen the speech of the user simultaneously, means on a real time. It's going to display the data inside the element, which is the division element, means it's going to display the text in the result element and also going to listen to the next upcoming speech that need to be converted into text. Alright, I think this is much clear to you for this particular line of the code. After that, we need to set the language of the recognition. So here I need to again use the recognition dot lang is equal to, and then here I need to use the language. So it is like English underscore US, which is the United States. Alright, so we want to use this particular language model because it is the most universal language used by many of the countries. And after that, I need to actually use the on result handler of the speech recognition. Alright, so here I will be using the recognition dot on result. Result is equal to, and here I need to use the function, and then instead of that I will be using the function expression code event. So I will be passing here one event and then I need to start its block of the code. Now here we need to call the process result function. So process result function will be called inside of this particular block. Process result function will be called inside this particular block. So this function will be called here. So again I need to here call the process result function. So process, that is this one, process result function. Now this particular function is going to accept a parameter of the event. So whatever event dot results, whatever thing is actually happening is going to be held by this particular function, means actually processed by this particular function. So this particular function is going to pass the event to this recognition, means the upcoming text that you can see here, these are the text that is upcoming here, is going to be processed by this particular process result function. Now you can see the text is actually overlapping outside of the container, that is the result division. That is because I have not added any responsiveness to this particular project, because the main idea is actually how the JavaScript is actually working to actually get the speech converted into text. You can enhance the UI of the CSS as per your need. Alright, now coming back to the project, after that we need to start the coding inside the process result function. So here inside the process result function we need to write a lot of code. So the first thing is I need to create here two variables. The first is going to be the final transcript, which is basically a final results that I have already explained you while I have actually initialized the interim results to true. Alright, then we need to also create another variable which is actually going to be used to store the transcript. Then again I need to initialize it to empty string. Then we need to iterate through each recognition result. So what I mean with the each recognition result, this entire thing is actually the speech recognition result. So whatever I will speak here is actually in a form of audio file, means actually it is actually in a form of speech which is actually an audio file. So from the audio file it's going to extract the data in a form of text. So this is actually the result. Alright, so we need to actually traverse it because right now it is actually in a form of array. Alright, so or you can say that in a form of node list. So I can traverse it with the use of the for each loop. So here I will be using the for loop, or I can use the simplicity for loop instead of using the for each loop. I will be here using the for loop because for each will make the things more complicated. So let I is equal to 0. That is, here I need to also specify the 0. Then we need to terminate that. Then we need to specify the condition. So it is going to be smaller than results. That is this one, results dot length, not webkit. It is going to be length. Okay, and then I need to increment the counter. So here I need to actually specify the condition. Why it is actually giving the problem. Okay, why it's giving the problem, smaller than, and then I need to use the plus plus because the keyboard language is changed. That is the reason here it is giving the problem. Instead of that, first we need to actually get the transcript from the result. So here again I need to use let, then transcript variable, which is actually a local variable for the for loop. Transcript is equal to, and here I need to specify the result, that is this one, and then I need to specify the value I index, and then first I need to get the reference. So here I need to specify the 0, and then it is going to be like transcript. So I0 is equal to dot transcript, that is this one. Alright, and after that we need to replace the new line character with the HTML line break so that we can format the data. So here it is going to like transcript dot replace. So every new line will be replaced with the HTML line break. So dot replace, and then I need to specify here /n, and after that I need to here specify the HTML line break tag, which is actually the br tag. So br tag. Okay, and then we need to check the result, which I already explained you in the initialization of this particular line of the code, that we need to check the condition whether it is an interim results or the final result, because whatever I will be speaking here is going to real time managed by the interim script, and then we also need to write the data. So the write data will be done by using the final results, which is this particular final transcript. Now the use of these two variables, because we need to also get the final transcript which will be write to the text element, and then we also need to listen to the speech which is the real time transcript. So we need to return these two things from this particular function. Alright, so here again I need to check for the condition, because we need to check whether the user stops speaking, then we need to write the data inside the division element. If the user is speaking, then we need to get that data, and then after a couple of time, once the user gets stopped, then we need to display that data. So to get the data when the user is speaking, that thing is actually managed by the speech interim result, and when the user is not speaking, then that thing is managed by the final results. This is the best I can do to explain this particular concept. Now how I know these things? Actually again by practicing the JavaScript code day by day. So here inside the first if block, here I will be using the results, that is this one. Then we need to start the array brackets I variable, which is actually denoting the index. So if it is like here I will be using the function which is called is final. So if it is final, then we need to concatenate it, the things like we need to concatenate the transcript to the final transcript variable. So here I will be using the final transcript variable, which is actually a global variable for this particular function. So I can use it inside the for loop under this particular if block. So final transcript is equal to, or I can here use the short syntaxing property, which is actually adding the values and also initializing it to the variable with the use of the transcript. So if it is not a case, then I need to concatenate the transcript to the interim transcript variable. So here I will be using the enter transcript is equal to, again I will be using the short syntaxing property, initializing it and also adding the values to transcript. Then I already told you I need to return these two things. So to return these two things I need to return as an object. So here I will be using the return after the end of the for loop. So here the for loop is ending. For loop is ending here. So I will be using the return. Then I need to use the array brackets, means the curly brackets, not array brackets. So final transcript, and then I need to specify a comma, and also I need to return the enter transcript. Okay, and now if I come back to this particular function, which is actually here process result, so here I need to also use the object destructuring. So what I mean with the object destructuring, so here I will be doing what, I'm just going to remove this particular line of the comment. So here I need to use the object destructuring, which is const, then I need to start the curly brackets, then it is going to like final transcript, comma, and then I need to specify the enter transcript, and this is going to be equal to actually this particular line of the code, that is the process result. So I will be pasting the code here. So once we get the final transcript and the enter transcript, now we can update the result element inner HTML to these two variables values. So here we are going to update the result element, that is the reference at the top. You can see it, this is a result element. So now we can update the value of this result element to the values of the final transcript, not for loop, final transcript, and then we can add the value of the enter transcript. Okay, now if I control save it, and now if I maximize this particular project, and now if I click on this one, if I click on allow, so now whatever I will be speaking here, you can see it's now actually printed inside this particular result element. Okay, so our project is working perfectly fine. Okay, so now we have to actually implement the stop functionality. Actually, I forgot it. So I need to also implement this particular functionality. Now the speaking functionality is working perfectly fine. Now in order to stop the recording of the speech recognition, I need to simply click on this refresh. So now it's actually stopped. Okay, so now our project speech to convert text functionality is actually working perfectly fine. It's time to add the stop functionality so that we can actually stop the speech recognition. So here at the bottom, we have the stop converting function. So inside of this stop converting function, first we need to check whether the speech is actually true, means if the recognition is actually going on. So we need to check it here. If recognition, if it is true, then we just simply need to do what? We need to simply use the recognition dot stop function. So here I need to use the stop function. Alright. Now if I control save it, now if I maximize it, and now if I click on the record button, so whatever now I will be speaking here is going to display inside this particular text element, which is actually the division element, in which the data will be converted from speech to text, and then it will be displayed inside this particular result element. Okay, so now if I click on the stop button, so you can see now the speech is actually stopped. If I again click on the record button, then it's going to actually start the recording again from the beginning, and then the previous data will be removed. So you can use the local storage functionality to add more actually behavior to this particular project, or I can say that more functionality to this particular project to store the previous data once the user click on the stop. So you can add a new card, and you can actually make some modification to this particular project. Alright, or you can even add the responsiveness to the project also. So that marks the completion of this particular module. If you like this module, then leave your review, because your review motivates me to create more awesome and unique projects like this one. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next lecture. Thank you very much.